Time to pull back the curtains. Woo! Behind the Book Live, the curtains are open. And today, I got to tell you what, we have an action-packed show. Probably going to go 48 minutes because this man's been in industry for 48 years. The one, the only, I call him the OG of staffing. Monte Block is in the house.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Straight from Brooklyn is where you were born, right?
Brooklyn in the house. That's where I was born and raised. Yep.
There's another guy from Brooklyn I know very well. I went to Penn State, so you know where that falls in, right?
My son went to Penn State. I know it well.
Ooh, there we go. We are, man. See? That's great. Well, hey, thank you for coming on. I tell you, your story is so inspiring, man. I mean, sitting down and talking this 45 minutes with you, man, it's just, we're just going to have a blast with it. I think the big thing I want to start with, man, let's just deep dive into it. Everybody knows who you are. Let's go way back to 1976 or even like you in college. I mean, you get out of college, did you know you were going to jump into staffing with your family?
I didn't have any idea what my father did for a living until I was graduating college, and I needed money to take out the pretty girls on dates, and I didn't have money. And Jerry, my dad, I call him Jerry. Jerry said to me, well, I'll give you one shot. I'm in an interesting line of business. If you want to learn it, you can come in, but you start at the bottom and work your way up. I say, what do you do? He said, you'll find out. So I finished off my education and I came in and I started working at this large publicly held company at the very bottom and found out what he did for a living.
And you know what I love about it? So let's just break this down because there's a little timeline here. Correct me or not, you kept the same pay for like how many, what, a decade and a half?
Now you're killing me, my friend. You're killing me.
I'm so sorry. I mean, how did you take them girls out with this no pay raise?
Okay. So when I got into the industry, they offered me $8.12.5 an hour, $16,800, January 1976. When I left in 93, my hourly rate was $8.12.5. Never got an increase. The president of the company always said, you're lucky I let you work for my company, you work for your father, and you're a commissioned person. That's all he kept saying to me. So I was smart. You tell me I'm commissioned, I'm going to make commissions. And I just put my head down, and Jerry gave me the guidance I needed, and him and his team taught me the business, and I started making money, and I started doing well.
Okay, so let's go back to 76 here. I mean, there's no AI. There's nothing like that. What were you going through? Like papers and posting stuff in the one ads and stuff? I mean, break it down what staffing really was, because I got to tell you, right now, everybody has everything at their fingertips. Back then, you guys had to work for it.
Yeah, well, it's a very, very interesting story. So I get teamed up with these two well-trained recruiters, and they sat me down and they said, this is what we have to do. We have a job requirement, and you're looking for a special kind of programmer who's got an IBM 360 background with engineering experience and is going to work at Grumman Data Systems. I said, okay, what's a Grumman Data Systems? And they said, they're engineering the program for the moon car. Because I was all technical. I didn't do any administrative or secretarial work. I did all technical my entire career. So I said, the moon car, wow. And they said, yeah. So they gave me a box of cards, index cards, 3x5 index cards. And they had names on it and where they lived and then numbers. A number represented a skill. Now, I have an eidetic memory, and I was trained into that in the business. So I will tell you, an IBM 360 programmer had a 227, a 229, and a 241. Those were the three codes I was looking for. So I went through these cards, and I would find anyone that lived in the area with those three codes on it. I would take those cards. I would give them to the administrative assistant. That's the proper term today that we called them back then was something different. But then they would take those cards, and they go to these filing cabinets, and they would pull out all these manila folders with resumes in them. And then I would get them, and I would open them up, and I would read it and see if they had the background I was looking for. And if they did, I would have to write on the front of the folder the date, call for Grumman Data Systems Moon program, and how much are they making? I had a list to follow. How much were they making? Where they were working at? How long they were going to be there? And if they were interested, I had to answer questions. That's how I was trained Everything was manual. It was phenomenal. And I found a guy. That was my first hire in mid-January of 1976. Guy by the name of Frank O'Reilly. Memory, right?
You got it.
Systems, $15 an hour, time and a half for overtime, 33% markup. Reporting into through the procurement guy was Ed Nathan. And he went to work for me and lasted for 3 years. And he programmed the moon car that drove around on the moon. That was my first placement.
That is amazing. Okay, so I got to ask you, the rotary phone, how did it work back in the day to call people?
Actually, when I started, we didn't have the rotary. We actually had push buttons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had push buttons. And how they trained me was great because I had 5 lines on my phone. And it was like a console. And they showed me with a magic marker to control 3 phone calls at one time. To talk to people. Hold on a second, Jim. I got to talk to Bill. Bill, hold on. I got to talk on to Susie. Susie, I got a job over here at GE. Are you interested? Hold on. I got a great job for you. I was going back and forth and I would multitask. That's how they trained me. And I did it.
That's like, you don't even have to go to the gym. That's a lot of work going back and forth. Can you imagine doing that now? Everything's like I said, at your fingertips. I mean, so I got to tell you, the 70s were, okay, very interesting. So how about the 80s? I mean, just give us a little bit of the decade of the 80s, because there was a lot going on there, man. I mean, I was a kid then, so it was all about movies for me, but for you, for staffing, did it jump in?
Okay. I got to show you something because no, it's clean as thing. It's nice. So I made my mark in 2 industries: nuclear power with utilities and information technology. Very highly technical stuff. So 79 through the mid 80s was big nuclear industry. And my job was to staff the architect and engineering firms with the designers and engineers to design and engineer safely nuclear power plants. And then I transitioned into starting the nuclear power plants and testing them. And I did that for every utility in the country. I had 6,000 people working for me at this company I was working at with Jerry, moving them around. So there was a company called Gibbs and Hill, and they had most of the design engineering work. And there was no Excel spreadsheet in those days. But I never took credit for it, but I created my own Excel spreadsheet.
No way.
From 1976 on, ready? These are all the people I recruited and hired in 2 years.
You are a pioneer. Look at that.
Their rates of pay, their deals, I know them up here by heart.
Yeah.
And I still speak to some of them today, and I put them out to work. When I joined with Jerry to the publicly held company, they were $55 million. When I left with my sales with Jerry, $2 billion.
You got to be kidding me.
Nope.
Wow.
And in the 80s, so the thing that changed, it changed in 2 levels. The owners weren't as fierce and combative as they were back in the late 70s. I used to meet for dinners, and they used to talk under a group called the National Technical Services Association. And some of them wouldn't show up because they would say, I'm going to recruit and put people to work while you're having dinner and enjoying it. And there was almost a fist fight between a couple of them a few times, arguing about stealing people and doing things. In the 80s, it changed because now people found niches, and my niche being nuclear power and information technology. So every nuclear utility, I had teams that did different things: integrated leak rate test, motor operated valve, power ascension test, hot functional test. I'm not an engineer, but I can talk the talk because I learned it from the magazines and going to the sites and building relationships with people. When I started in 76, I found out real quickly I wasn't smart enough to build a business. So I went back to business school at night at Pace University. I worked from 8 in the morning till 5 at the company with Jerry and the team. And then from 6 to 10, 4 nights a week, I worked on my MBA. And it took me 5 years to do that. And I wrote my master thesis alternative on the staffing of contract businesses in the industry. So I became an MBA in 82. It just catapulted me in business. I learned so much about business, and I knew how to go after clients and talk to them and build in information technology. It was data phone 2, it was the advanced communication service network, packet switching, all the things, the 411, all that stuff I gave people to work on. And that's how I built it. 6,000 people were working for me.
Wow, you are a true visionary. So I got to tell you, we're just going to jump in it right now. How did you grow it that quickly? I mean, that's part of the book, but let's just jump into it. I mean, because everybody's talking about relationships and how they can grow. Give us the secret of the 80s and 90s and beyond.
So Jerry was so influential, and I talk about him a lot in the book. Jerry was actually one of the first contract engineers to be put out in the 50s. He was an electronic engineer, and he got placed at General Electric in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and he designed the fire control system for the Polaris missile on the Polaris submarine. And what he told me, and it just drilled it into me, everything in our business is relationships, meeting people, talking to people, and creating relationships. And that's all I did. So I traveled a lot, and I went around and met people. And some people say I have an outgoing personality. I'm not sure, but I'm transparent. I say what I'm thinking. I talk to a lot of people, and I love listening to people, and you learn from people. So as I went from power plant to power plant, I was building up experts, nuclear engineers, nowhere to be found in the country. They all worked for me. And I had teams, and I would move them around. So I remember a trip I made in about 1986, 85, 86, to Wolf Creek Nuclear Generating Station. And Jerry and I went out there, middle of the country, Burlington, Kansas, Westinghouse PWR unit. And I knew what stage they were in construction. And I said to the startup manager, Bob Glover, I said, Bob, I want to come out and talk to you. He said, why? I said, I've got a team of engineers that are going to put you on the schedule that you got to be on. All right, I'll give you 30 minutes. I went out with a book of resumes that I put together. And Bob Glover sat there while he was eating his carrot for lunch. I'll never forget it. And he goes, Joey Broadwater, I'll hire him. I need SROs, senior reactor operators. Scotty Wagner, I'll take him. Take this guy. He went back and forth, and he hired 30 engineers from me at lunch that day. But what happened was, more to an answer to your question, I have a passion for the business. I work 17, 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
Traveled around the country. I do the West Coast in one day. I still do the West Coast in one day. I do Houston, Texas in one day. 5 o'clock flight out, 8 o'clock flight back at night.
Dude, love it, man.
I ended up in the emergency room 3 times. They used to call it executive burnout. Today they call it stress and anxiety. But I realized that I had to hire people to work for me to visit the sites and help build the different projects that I was running all around the country, around the world. I had 22 foreign sites that I was staffing. So the company I was working for, not only didn't they give me a raise, but anytime I wanted to expand my support group, I had to pay for them with my commission dollars. But I did it.
So I got to ask you, like the people around you, the other recruiters and stuff, they are not going to do what you're doing, right? I mean, did you train them, or did you just see them just doing the regular way? Because what I'm thinking right now is you're somebody that's beyond. I mean, you're thinking in 2000 back in like 84, you know?
So little story about that. 1984, one of my power plants needed instrumentation and control technicians, INC technicians. And part of what I talk about a lot in the book and when I speak publicly is you got to be different. You got to be innovative and creative. So what I was able to do was, in research, I found out that the executive vice president of nuclear of that project had authored a certification system for people to qualify them to work on power plants. ANSI 45.2.6, which made them levels 1, 2, or 3. So I put together a book. It had to be about yay big, of INC technicians of all different expertises, and I certified them. And in my presentation, I said, everybody wants to be certified, but you have to understand the NRC regulations and ANSI 45.2.6. I have classified them so I can put them at different bill rate levels and save you money. So if you need a tool crib technician, that's a level 1. If you need a heavy valve attenuator guy, that's a level 3. I can save you money. And I put together a very creative billing schedule that nobody had ever seen before. And I went back to my recruiters, and at that point, I had 12 recruiters working for me. I said, hey, they need 50 technicians. I said, oh, we're not going to work on it. He said, the rates aren't good. So this guy worked on it. And I filled all 50 of them myself.
Damn.
And I got commission. And then he said,
Yeah.
wait, we want to make commission. And that's how you get people to support you and be part of your team, by paying them well to perform a job. I want people to work for me that want to earn commission monies, not say, here's an amount of money, now go recruit. No, go recruit and earn your commissions.
Yes, performance based. Yep.
And that's how I did it.
I love that, man. Okay, so before we dive into the 90s here, we got to talk about ASA. So you were there when this all happened. I don't know how much you can say about it, but give us a little breakdown, because I don't think a lot of people know how ASA went down and everything like that, because you do.
So back in the day, we had a separate organization called NTSA, which stood for National Technical Services Association. And on the technical side of the house, they were brilliant people who started companies. They had master's degrees and they were ex-engineers, and they were nasty to each other in these meetings. I mean, they cursed each other. They fought at dinners and stuff. They actually threw food at one of them, at each other, and one of them. ASA, to my recollection, was built more on the administrative side with the big companies. See, the big companies weren't in the technical business for the most part in the beginning. If you remember, and I apologize for saying this, it was Kelly Girl and Olston Office. Olston became, Deco and whatnot. It was, they quote, the girly business, what they called back there. I hated those terms, but that's the best way to say what it was. So they started, and they tried to bring the NTSA folks over. But they had one thing that I recall that made us say no, and that is they allowed you to transfer payrolls of people when you won big jobs by lowering the markups. And I was always against the competitive edge of lowering markups, because to get a good product, you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
And I can give you a whole list of ways that some of these companies lower markups illegally until they get caught. So we stayed out of ASA for a while. They took our lawyer, Toby Millara, brilliant guy. And Toby's still with ASA today.
Gotta love Toby.
Toby's great, and he works with Steve Dwyer and Brittany Sakata and Ed Lenz over there. I mean, they're great. I am a big supporter of ASA today. I'm on their legal committee. I go to all their conferences and stuff, and I speak. They are phenomenal, and we're all together as one now. We are. So
that is great how it just came about. In the beginning, you're like a little friction, and then boom, before you know it, here you guys are.
The one guy, by the way, Sal Balsamo, worked for a company called TAD, T-A-D, out of Massachusetts. TAD was owned by Dave McGraw, who was an MIT graduate. Brilliant guy. First privately held company to hit $1 billion. And when he passed, his wife sold to Adecco. But Sal left TAD, T-A-D, and I say that for a reason, with another couple of people, and opened his own company. In those days, when you wanted contract staffing people, you looked in something called the telephone book. And he named his company Tech Aid Corp, TAC. So TAC was above TAD in the phone book, and you would call his company before his old company. And
wow, what genius move that was.
It worked. And Sal was brilliant. But Sal was one of the big first supporters over at ASA. And he left NTSA, and Sal's in the Hall of Fame and stuff. He was a brilliant businessman, passed away a few years ago, but learned a lot from a lot of my contemporaries.
Man, shout out to Sal. That's awesome, man.
Sal Balsamo from Boston, Massachusetts. Leave it at that. Okay.
Everybody. Okay, so I got to ask you, Monte. It seems like everybody that's rocking and rolling is on the East Coast, right?
No. We had a lot of people all around the country. The car industry was big, and out on the West Coast, they had their stuff in IT, and that was big, and a lot of the space programs and stuff, the Boeings and stuff. It was all over the country. Tech services was big all over the country.
Man, that is awesome. Okay, so here we go. Jerry has a quote here. I'm going to read it, okay? And then this is in 1991. Just let you know, Monte, I graduated high school in 1991. Just throw that out there.
Stop already, Richard.
Dude, I got silver in my hair now. Come on, man. I'm mature just like you.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
All right. You're unhappy. Then get the hell out of here and go do it yourself. Jerry, to you.
Yep. So, you want to know where that came from and what that meant. All right. So here I am my deal at this company was for every dollar profit that I made them profit, I got a nickel. They got 95 cents. I was making buku dollars with nickels. Now, I got called in to Gulf State Utilities, one of 100 vendors to bid a sole source, first vendor on premise MSP kind of job back in the 80s, the late 80s. And I had to be innovative and creative. I said there were 100 companies. And I came up with some ideas and I bounced them off Jerry, and Jerry says, go for it. And 2 days after we submitted the proposal, we got a call to go down to Gulf State Utilities. And we went down there and we met with some great people. We met with the executive vice president of nuclear and all of his contracts and procurement people. And they were these two Jewish boys from New York, from Brooklyn, New York, going down to the southeast to talk to them. And Jerry just kept saying to me on the whole plane ride, Monte, speak slowly. Monte, make sure they understand what you're saying. And be innovative and creative. He said, you're the best at doing that. That job was from supplying the administrative people and the clerical people and the site watchers all the way up to the senior reactor operators and engineers. It was full scope. My company had a tremendous reputation on the West Coast for administrative capabilities. And I had to go to the brother on the West Coast and ask him to join in and support me to win this contract. And he said, no problem. I'll pay you your normal commission on whatever we put in there. So let's win it for the company. And we went down there, and a couple of keys, but the most important thing that Jerry and I created for these folks down there was the insurance was high on these power plants. And we said to them, if you allow us to speak to your insurance carrier, because you carry a nuclear liability insurance for the entire plant, name us as an additional insured, and we can lower our markup by 5 points. And they said, fine. They called up their insurance company right there in the meeting. They did it. We left with a letter of intent, and we won. I won that contract, and that was over 1,000 people. That when I left in '93, they were all still working there. It was one of the first full on-site jobs. But the brother on the West Coast wasn't paying me commission, and I called him up. And I said, hey, we had a deal. The contract's been running over 1.5 years now. I haven't gotten penny one from any of your people. And he very professionally said to me, go F yourself. He said, you're making too much money. You'll never leave. I'm screwing you out of your commission.
No way. I've been on a flight. I've been on a flight right out there, buddy.
No, look. And I ran into Jerry's office. I said, would you believe this BS? I said,
yeah.
And Jerry said, if you're unhappy, then get the hell out of here. He said, they've been doing this to you. It's called the salami game in our industry. They cut a little piece on each end to control your income. I was making more money than both the brothers put together as CEO and vice president. 1984, I'm a 30-year-old kid, making more money than his entire corporate staff. They hated me.
Oh, of course.
They
target on you.
They gave me monthly commission checks bigger than their annual salaries. They made me sign personal guarantees that if I was embezzling or cheating or stealing money, that I would personally guarantee it and give it back. That's how much they supported me. Man. Which led Jerry to say that, if you're unhappy, leave. And I started to look.
And there it went. Look out. So was there a time during this, 48 years where you were kind of bored and just like, it was like stagnant, where it's like, you weren't having fun anymore and you wanted to do another challenge? Is this where this came in at?
No, my passion is so high. I love what I do, and I never get bored, because something I learned from day one is you got to diversify. And in diversify, I do innovative and creative things that make heads spin. I train dolphins with animal trainers to find the underwater mines in the Persian Gulf when they overthrew Saddam Hussein. I got a call. I have a top secret clearance because of government work, and I got called down. It's a funny story. It's a more recent story, but it applies to back then. I have 3 great kids in the business and a wife in the business. Linda's my wife. Bradley's my oldest. Shannon's my middle child, and Jordan. Jordan and I went down to right outside the Pentagon, and we go into this room, and we got to take off our jackets, our shoes, no phones, no pencils, no computers, no nothing, a lead line room with no windows or anything. And we walk in, and they say, this is a TS meeting. And we say, yes. And they say to us, okay, somewhere on this earth, there is an island, and that island is inhabited by a friend of the United States. And on that island is a castle. And in the dungeon of that castle is the most sophisticated radar and sonar program ever known to man that we designed and engineered here in the United States. But our deal is that the local government has to run that equipment for us. So we need writers, editors, and illustrators to put together operating manuals of kindergarten level so they know how to run this equipment for us. Can you do it? And we said, yes. And we said, where is it? And they said, you're on the need to know basis, and you don't need to know.
I love that. Wow.
And
Something I never knew.
And in one of the follow-up meetings, one of the 4-star generals said to Jordan and I, said, you guys are great. He said, would you like a tour of the Pentagon? And we said, yeah. Man. And he said, so would everybody. There are none. Civilians don't get into the Pentagon, so don't ever think of getting in there. Okay, sorry.
Woo, I like that. Man, I tell you, that's another adventure. I love how you do this. Like, you go one place and then you just keep trying different things, Monte? I mean, I think that's the moral story you can tell people out there. If you get bored at something, there's something else that you can fall in there and have a passion for.
And you always have to plant those seeds. I did telephone installations. I was involved with Puerto Rico had a tremendous storm back in the late 70s and 80s. So I staffed what they called the records purification system for telephone installations. They didn't know where their phone wires went and who had phones and who didn't. And I staffed that whole job for my company down in Puerto Rico. I got into that. I do healthcare. The federal government came out with a tumor registry program that I read about. I went around to the hospital and said, I got tumor registry clerks for you. I just researched it, started putting tumor registry. That's how I got into the healthcare staffing business. Whatever they need. When Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers, I went down to Washington and met with Elizabeth Dole, the transportation secretary. He said, I can give you contract air traffic controllers, take them out of the military. She said, I love it. But then the attorney general said it was illegal and we couldn't do it. But I tried.
So ask anybody out there that's watching this. So how do you get these appointments to DC and stuff like that? Because now you're well known, of course, across the whole country. But like back then, what made you do that? You refused to say no, or how did you just get the contact and say, I'm going down there and present it because you had the workers?
So it was all in the training, and it's what I try to instill when I teach recruiters or salespeople. Look, in any business that you sell, you got to be hard-skinned. They're going to say no to you. Get lost. We don't want you. You can't do it. And you got to keep going back and finding ways, I call it the hook, to get into a company, to reach somebody. And there's a lot of ways to do it. You can do it on a social basis by going to social functions, charity functions. You can do it by going to listen to people speak around the country, which I do a lot of, and then I talk to them. You just got to be persistent, but not annoyingly persistent, but constructively persistent. And you got to plant the seeds, and it takes time to work. But in a commission business, and especially in our industry, you're only as good as your last sale, and you got to keep trying because you never know where the next dollar is going to come from. And that's what I train people, and I still do that today. And all the way up to the government, when they came out with all these laws now, against our industry and stuff, I personally got us into the New Jersey Governor, Phil Murphy, with his staff to fight back their law from 10 bullet points down to 5. And then I knew the loopholes to get around the 5 to satisfy them and not break the law. And I'm talking to people in Illinois and Massachusetts and stuff because I love helping people. The good people in our industry are going to do well, and you want to partner with those good people to be successful. And that's what you have to do today.
100%. I think the people like ASA, SIA, and all that, that's good people. We still have them snakes out there, Monte. We can even say that. We have the snakes. You never see them at a conference or nothing. They're just snaking everybody out till they get caught.
You see some of them at conferences.
Any names? You want to drop any names? I'm just joking.
Oh, you didn't hear that? I'm sorry.
That'll be in the comments. Make sure you comment. That's too funny. Okay, so I want to ask you something. This is real, like Y2K. How did your staffing firm take that? Because everybody was saying the computers were going to go down and stuff like that. I always ask companies like that because, were you scared? What? Of course, nothing really happened. So, how did you prepare for that?
Well, my general answer is diversification. So when Y2K was coming up, we, like everybody else, were big in computer operations and computer programming, and we took advantage of it. And we had a big peak in services to get everyone prepared for Y2K. On the other hand, in 1999, I opened up healthcare staffing because that's where I thought there would be, from my marketing background, that there'd be a big need. And that exploded back in 1999 and into 2000. So when one industry went up, another one went down. I haven't had a bad year in 30 years now of owning my own company.
Wow. Yes.
Because we have all the different industries, and I want my people, I call it liquid recruiting, and I call it, you can recruit anything by just learning a little bit and talking to people. And the key to professional and technical recruiting is letting those people talk to you. Hey, Carol, I have a great job, and this is what it involves, and this is the technology. Have you ever done that? Tell me what you've done. Now Carol's teaching me technology, and that's how I interview people, and I learn from them. I learn from a lot of people. I never stop. I learned from you watching your podcast. You're great.
Maybe you learned the bad things about me. No, I'm just joking. Hey, I like to have fun with it, and I will say one thing about it. I love this. I used to be a probation officer, Monte, if you knew that, back in the day, for 10 years. So this is like, I've been in for like 11 years now. I love staffing. And when you embrace it, you'll never leave this industry because it'll love you back too.
So Jerry taught me something very important way back when, and Brad, Shannon, Jordan, Linda, we all use it. So, and I say it over and over again, publicly and in the book, I'm not the smartest guy around, but I make sure that I surround myself with smart people. And I'll give you one quick example of that. I've been writing insurance programs for my company now for 30 years, health insurance and business insurance programs. And I've gone through different brokers, different companies, and I learn from them because they're the experts. And I demand to be involved so I can learn. In the last couple of years, from my business insurance to my health insurance, the experts have taught me so much to help my people. I have one of the most unbelievable healthcare insurance programs in the industry today. My internal staff love me because of all the benefits they get and the savings they have and how it takes care of them and their family. The culture is so important to take care of that family with my internal people. The experts taught me that. My lawyers, I go to lawyers, I use expert lawyers in different fields in different states, federal, state, local, whatever, and I listen to them. Now, at the end, I've got to make the decision. But as long as I have good information, intelligent information, I can make a good decision. So I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I make sure I surround myself with a lot of smart people. And that's what I talk to a lot of people about today.
No, I love that. And maybe we'll jump on this right now, the culture part, because I think a lot of people coming out, Gen Z's coming out of college and stuff like that, they want that culture. How did you sustain that culture this many years? You know what I mean? Because, there's people, they go to, I hate to say it, but there's staffing firms out there where they'll say, don't ever work there, man, because they burn and turn you. How do you keep your values and keep it going all these years?
So I've been through all the acronyms of the generations, from the baby boomers all the way up. It's not easy, Richard. It's not. But I try to stress a few things, really. So one is I believe in family. I'm blessed, 3 kids, 7 grandchildren, spend a lot of family time, do a lot of family things. I believe in family. And my family today is my Equilium internal staff. They need help. I'm there for them. Your family is important to me. So what do I want in exchange for that, bringing you into my family? What's the culture that I'm setting up? And that culture is work hard, play hard. I don't care if you work 40 hours a week or 10 hours a week. How many people are you putting on the payroll? How many new contracts are you bringing in? How much money are you making? When I was selling and I made more than the CEOs, that's the formula. I want my people to make more than me. Mm-hmm. Because if they make more than me, they're happy. I don't have to watch a time clock. I don't have to see you in the office. Just do your job, production oriented. I have some brilliant people in my operations and my data warehousing group. I sit at my desk and look at dashboards. I can see what my people are doing. I don't look at hours. I don't look at time on the computer. I look at gross margins, profit contribution. So I said, I spoke last week out in Chicago, and somebody asked me one of the secrets. So they were a bunch of business owners said, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Texting doesn't work. The job candidate gets hundreds of texts. Leaving messages on phones doesn't work. They get it all the time. People are working during the day, or they're with their kids enjoying the culture of family life during the day. So why aren't your recruiters working at nights and weekends instead? Why aren't they making calls from 6 to 9 at night? That's when you reach people. They want relationships. Nobody, they asked me a question about AI, and I might be jumping on this, but, is artificial intelligence going to take over for the recruiter? In my opinion, never. It's a relationship business. I have people calling me from 45 years ago asking me to put them back into the workforce. They remember me because we have relationships.
Exactly.
When Jerry passed away 11 years ago, I had to rent a tremendous synagogue because he had over 1,000 people from around the country that he created relationships with that came to say their final goodbyes. I couldn't believe it. So it's all about relationship building and culture with your people. And if you want to work just hard enough not to get fired, that's not my culture. Go do it somewhere else. And my reputation that I try to stress, and I hope it's carried out there, is you want to work hard, play hard, and have a good time. You can ask a lot of people. I play hard. I really do. All over the country at conferences and stuff. I work hard. Today, I slowed down a little bit, Richard. I'm only working half days, 12 hours. But 12 hours.
I love the work ethic. And you know what I really love about nighttime? I say this all the time. That's where I put my name on the map. I even do Saturday mornings from 10 o'clock to like 1. Saturday mornings, people are happy. They're in a good mood. They'll answer their phone. They might be taking their kids to, but so many recruiters are like, oh, I need that time alone by myself. That's probably one of the best times to talk to people, like you said.
That's what we build, the culture we build. And those people make a lot of money for me and for themselves, which is the most important part.
And I think something else, too, is you got to celebrate their wins, too. I think a lot of people, they don't celebrate their wins. I mean, this is off record. I'm going to ask you about KPIs real quick here because everybody hits me on this subject all the time. What is your take on a KPI?
It has a value, but it also is very detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The most important KPI is gross margin contribution, right? If you make money, when we had holiday parties every year, I, Bradley, Shannon, Jordan, Linda, we walk around and we pull raffle tickets out that we give out to all 200 people that work for me. And when you pull out your number, they say, what do we get? $100 bills. We hand out $100 bills to people. We reward them for being there and performing well. We have parties to celebrate the victories. What's a victory? A new contract. Say no to bad business. Big thing that I talk about. Work smart. Don't work harder. Revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. I argue with Ursula and Barry Asen all the time. I don't want to be the biggest, fastest growing company out there in revenues. I'd love to be the most profitable. I can tell you stories about that forever. I know people that became billion-dollar companies, lost money and went bankrupt. That's not me. It's all about profit. Good business.
The P for profit. There it is from the man and only. Okay, so I got to ask you, of all your chapters, is there one or two chapters? Because, I mean, we've talked about a lot of this. I want them to get the book, of course. It's like a good teaser here. But is there one or two chapters that really stuck out, like that you really got emotional about?
Yes. Here's my little plug, if I may.
Go for it.
Anybody who's listening or knows me, Monte@Aquilium.com. Send me an email with your mailing address. Tell me a little something about what you want to know. I will personally inscribe the book and send it out to you free instead of buying it because I want to spread my passion. The most important thing in my book is probably something that nobody expects to hear. The opening acknowledgments. Because the people that gave me my foundation at my original company, who I still speak to today, remember when I started, they were 50 and 60 years old. Most of them are gone. But their children and grandchildren are reading my book now and learning about what their grandparents did. To me, that is the most touching, sentimental thing to me, is saying thank you to all those people. I didn't do it myself. I had a lot of great people in the beginning, and I have a lot of great people now: lawyers, insurance, health and business, and financial people in account. Those are the people that make me look good.
Yeah.
Those are the most important people in my life and my business. And those are the people that I want them to know how important they were to me and what it meant. And I hope someday somebody, they do say that to me when I go to conferences. People say, you said, say no to bad business, get rid of your loser accounts. I did that. I'm making so much more money. Thank you, Monte. I love that. They invite me to speak, and I talk to them, and it's phenomenal. And I'm still helping. I'm helping because the 3 blocks are basically earning their way to run these businesses, and they're doing a phenomenal job with their executive team that they brought in, and they're doing phenomenal. So it's a great time. A lot of great stories in the book. Some I couldn't tell in the book. We spoke about that offline a little bit. But most importantly, the book was written as an easy reading, high level book to touch on a lot of things. Underwritten by Forbes magazine. Forbes now wants me to sign a contract to write anywhere from 2 to 5 more books on a chapter to get real deep and talk about, get into the weeds on how to do these things.
Yeah. I mean, go for it.
And I got the last piece, Richard. So the book is coming out audio on tape also. And I demanded in my contract that I recorded the acknowledgement section, because I wanted those people to hear in my voice, my passion of my thank you, from my mother to my father to my wife to my children to all those experts, past and current, that's what made me successful. And now I have a voiceover actor doing the rest of the book.
Man, you never forget where you came from, brother. You know that, man. And that's something great here. I mean, let's give a shout out to Linda, your wife. I mean, yes. She's been with you for how many years? You've been married? I'm putting you on a spot here.
45 years.
So she's been through the whole staffing journey with you, man.
Yep. She owns one of the companies, because we went diversity. So she started one and did it, and now Shannon is diversifying the company. I mean, a lot of smart people told me a lot of smart things to do, and I give credit to all of them.
I got to tell you, your kids are incredible. Brad and Shannon, met both of them in person. I haven't met Jordan yet, but I'll tell you what, class acts all the way, man. And I love how they just keep growing your company. You keep branding it different names. Sometimes, you branded it again, which is great. You're always changing, and that's what I love about you guys.
We're having a great time. You had to see us last New Year's Day in a pool, drinking champagne, celebrating a great year, and doing the budget for the coming year in the pool as a family. Doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't. Where's the Sharks invite? Come on, I'm ready for some champagne.
You got it, my friend. We'll do it. You're the best.
Shout out. Here's the book. You can get it everywhere. It's at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and other locations across the area.
Just email me, you get your own copy.
Yeah, free copy, and it's going to be autographed by Monte. I mean, thank you so much for coming on. Before we go, give me one story from, just one amazing, inspiring story. Can you give me from your experience, man?
I got a call quite a few years ago for a class of people to work internationally. And they worked around 150 people I staffed. And I placed them around the world. And at the end of the day, we supported finding Osama bin Laden, his location, and his capture.
Wow. That's a hell yeah, man. Wow.
It's unbelievable. We have so much fun. We love what we do. It's so exciting. I can tell you my Elon Musk story, which was interesting.
We got time. Go for it.
So through an MSP vendor, they asked me for 200 people. SpaceX was first coming out to give them technicians and grinders and welders and polishers. And he explained to me that every time the Dragon and Falcon would come back, that it had to be cleaned up and preventive maintenance had to be performed on and whatnot. So I need 200 people from you, Monte, for 2 years, but they're going to cross-train my people, and then I'm going to fire your ass out of here. He said to me, "Are you going to do it?" I said, "Of course I'm going to do it. We can sign right now." He said, "Just tell me why." I said, "Because I'm going to make money on you, Elon. That's why." And I did it for 2 years, and I made money on him. But the interesting part was I saw him 15 minutes later when he was getting on his helicopter to go back to Tesla. And I said, Elon, it was a pleasure talking with you and working with you. And he looked at me and go, do I know you? He forgot. He is so far intellectually superior. He forgot talking to me 15 minutes ago after we signed the contract.
How was the discussion? I got to ask you, talking to him, does he talk way beyond like futuristic talk? Is it like you have to really zone in? Listen, you have to listen.
I
right?
can write a whole book on my work with SpaceX and what we did, but every Falcon and Dragon that went up came back safely and went back on the pad and went up for each and every time for 2 years that we handled it for him. A feather in our cap to my recruiting staff, quality people, and we work on projects all the time, whether it's health, industrial staffing, whether it's engineering, whether it's for the government. We do it, and we're very proud of our success and what we've done. And I love sharing that with other people, the good people.
Man, we can just talk on and on. Here's my boy, John Ruffini, giving you a shout out there, buddy. Awesome, man. I'll tell you what, this has been so amazing. So I got to ask you, okay, watching you at these events and this stuff, and everybody out there, me and Monte's never sat down and had a beer or champagne yet, which we will. Guarantee next time I see you, my man. The fashionable glasses. That's the first thing I see. You got these glasses that are like off the hook. I'm like, you have a pair for every day? But where do you get these glasses at? Blue, and they've got prints on them. I mean, is that something that's your gig? You love glasses?
Well, I started wearing glasses again about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I own 15 pairs of designer glasses of all different types. Yes, blue, red, black. They're lightweight. They're great. You know what? They're relationship builders. They're attention getters. People.
Yes, they are.
I like yours, by the way. You know.
Yeah, they're okay. They're blue actually, but they're black here. But no, is that crazy? Like when I see you walking, the glasses is called right off the bat. I'm like, every time you went to Staffing World, the last 4 or 5, you've had different glasses on at every one.
I change them during Staffing World too.
Mix it up on me.
Yeah, I bring a different pair every day for different moods and stuff. And sometimes I have my business glasses for when I speak during the day, and I call it hobnobbing with the Gooba Smoochers, you know, when I share stories and stuff. And then when we go out at night for dinners and to play hard, different glasses go on. So
there it is, my man. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys get a chance, get out there, get this book, The Building Blocks of Success with Monte. I mean, it's one of them where it's going to just from A to Z, man, all the years of experiences there. I mean, it's going to be a book of wisdom. And yeah, we're out of here. That's this chapter.
This guy here, folks, he's great. I watch his podcast all the time. He is phenomenal.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. From you, man, straight to my heart, man. All right, everybody, get the book, and we'll see you next time on another Behind the Book Live. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.